All right, and we're back. This is Wellness Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, January 13th. And so before Tyler forgot to press the record button, I was talking about how financial wellness is not necessarily something I learned a lot about in school or from my parents. My parents have terrible money blueprint. And a lot of what I've learned just in this business, I've learned from Tyler and his dad, and also like a few tax accountants and different things like that. But when I first started making money with Isagenix, one thing that I would not have done had Tyler not told me to do was set aside money for taxes, because this is not a normal W-2 business. And at the end of the year, there are going to be some things that you have to pay back to the government. And there's also a lot of benefits that go along with this. So I'm obviously not like the person to really kind of educate you guys on that, but I just wanted to kind of share I really had no idea what to do with my finances when I first started this business. And I had no idea that I would be able to save so much money and be able to really put things away for myself for later. So I asked Tyler if he would do a financial wellness Wednesday call and just kind of share with you guys some of the basics that really helped me in the beginning and really helped set my bank account up for success. I know that Zepeda's talked about it when we were here at NYKO. They talked about how they spent every single dollar that they earned and they put nothing away for taxes. And April came around, but later that year they owed them tens of thousands of dollars because they didn't, one, write anything off, and two, they didn't set anything aside. So get your notebooks out, guys, because I definitely think this is something that is super important if you guys are really going to be building an empire and building with Isagenix, because there's a lot more benefits than you think. So Tyler's going to kind of go over a little bit about how you can start to, I guess, kind of plan that stuff out as you move forward with your business here.
All right, guys, what's up? All right, I see some glazed eyes. I'm not going to talk about taxes. I'm not going to teach the tax code this morning, but I think Zoe's got a great idea. So Wellness Wednesday, talking a little bit about financial wellness, because whether you want to admit it or not, whether you're here to hit a financial home run or make an extra $1,000 a month, finances is such an important part of business, and so few people understand it or pay mind to it. And if you don't pay mind to it, if you sweep it under the rug, it's not going to be a good thing. Money can be such a freeing thing, but if we don't pay attention to it, it can be a really crippling thing. And if you're anything like me, you've experienced that before. Before I invested time and energy, and I grew up with a father who had a great money blueprint and really tried to teach me the principles of money and did a great job, and it helped me. But even with all of that, I still had to learn it the hard way for myself a few times when I got into the workforce and started making income and having no idea how to manage my money, not how to control my expenditures. And it's so easy. You guys have probably all experienced it. If you're like me, you get yourself in a situation where it's just stressful. When you go to bed at night, you wake up, you're like, I'm not sure where rent's coming from the next month. You wake up in the morning, you're thinking about it first thing in the morning. I don't know how I'm going to pay that bill. And what I want to do today is help you guys set yourself up with a foundation where that is not the case, because whether this is a part-time thing for you, whether you're just doing it for fun, or whether whether you don't even, 5 years from now, you're not even doing Isagenix. I want to be able to help you in your personal life, help get your finances right. And I think that if you are building this business for part-time or full-time income, the worst place you can be coming from is coming from a place of this business is putting food on the table for me. And if I don't give that PIB today, I'm not eating. I'd hate to be dramatic with it, but you guys know what I mean. Like, you don't want to be coming from that place of desperation with this business. And I know I came from that place in the past, not because of my lack of skills in the business, not because of my lack of contacts, simply because of my lack of a good financial plan, which was causing me to spin my wheels and living paycheck to paycheck, which is crazy, because I started this business to avoid exactly that. But the crazy part about money is, even if you increase your income, if you don't understand that some of these principles I'm going to talk about this morning, you will continue to stay on the paycheck to paycheck hamster wheel, because it comes in one door and out the other, and you're never getting ahead, even as income increases. This is why you can look at all different tax brackets in the U.S. from the lowest end through the middle class up into the upper middle class. People are living paycheck to paycheck. Someone who is making $200,000 a year salary has the same paycheck to paycheck issues as someone that's getting by on $25,000 a year. It's insane how that works, but it's the truth. So anyways, today I want to talk about 7 money principles that I think will really help you guys get set up for success. And there's a great book that I really would recommend everybody read, everybody check out, called The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon. And I'm going to take a little bit from that book, but and make it my own, put a little spin on it for the richest man in network marketing. All right, a little stuff for you guys this morning. So the first thing I want to talk about is you gotta the first of the 7 points is you gotta understand money. If you want money to work for you, if you want to be able to have a life where you have choices, to me, money just means freedom of choice. It means I can eat where I want to eat, travel where I want to travel, give to who I want to give to, live life the way I want to live it. That's what it means to me. And if you want that, you got to first understand it. I think so few people understand money. I briefly touched on this at the Tampa event that you guys were at this weekend. Briefly. Some of you guys have heard me talk about it like 4 or 5 times now, like Cody. He's probably sick of it. But I think it's so important to understand the history of money and what money really is, and understand it if we're going to have any gains financially. Money is debt. Money is debt. Money is paper. It is fake. It is debt. That's all it is. It's not a real thing. It has no value attached. It is pieces of paper with dead presidents on it. It has no value. If an asteroid came out here and struck tomorrow and we were living in an apocalyptic world, your dollar bills would have no value for you. You can't dig with it. You can't eat it. You can't do anything with it. All money is a fake piece of paper that everyone has agreed is valuable, even though it's paper. And if you look back at the story of money, I think it makes a lot more sense. So some of you might be thinking like, yeah, that sounds really cool. You know, everybody understands that at a surface level, but I want you to think about this at a deeper level. Some of you have heard me talk about this before. Thousands of years ago, if there's a guy who was a shoemaker and he made shoes for a living, and he wanted to buy some wheat or some bread, let's call it bread. He wanted to buy some bread to feed his family. Okay, so the shoemaker goes down to the bread maker and he says, hey, can I trade you a pair of shoes for some bread? And the bread maker says, I don't need any shoes right now. I don't need any shoes right now, but I know your family needs to eat. So here's a loaf of bread. And he says, okay, well, I'll give you a pair of shoes whenever you need them. Thanks for the bread. And the baker's like, okay, well, how are we going to remember this? And he writes down a little note, an IOU. I owe you a pair of shoes. Thanks for the bread. Here's a note. Here's a piece of paper that says I owe you. And then 6 months later, when the bread maker needs shoes, he goes back to the shoemaker and says, here's your piece of paper back. Here's your note. Can I have my pair of shoes now? And that's all money is. If you look at the paper in your wallet, it literally says a note backed by the US Treasury. It's a piece of debt. So what happened is, as the world became more and more complex and more people agreed to believe in this made up concept of money, which is nothing, again, it's a made up human construct. It's a made up human construct that people will fight for, die for, cry for, do all these crazy things for this made up piece of paper with dead presidents on it. But that's as the system became more and more complex, the shoemaker would go to the bread maker and give him the note. And the bread maker still didn't need any shoes. So he would take that same note and he would go down to the plumber and say, hey, the shoemaker owes you a pair of shoes now. I'm gonna give you this note so you can come fix my toilet. And then the plumber would take that same note and he would go down to the bar and he'd buy a beer for himself and he'd give the bartender, here, the shoemaker owes you a pair of shoes now. We'd trade these notes. So eventually it became such that you couldn't remember who owed who what. So now then the government stepped in and the kings stepped in and they said, we'll back all the debt. We'll back all the debt. You guys just play with it. And it literally became like play money, just like Monopoly. If you played Monopoly growing up, that's the game of life. That's the game of life. It's crazy. So understanding the story of money is such an important part of gaining financial wellness, in my opinion. I think so many people really hype themselves up about what money is. They get really stressed out about it. All money is debt. So if you got some debt right now, if you got a credit card debt, if you got a student loan debt, something that's hanging over you, making you not sleep well at night, just remember that all money is debt. It's okay. All money is debt. Even the cash in your wallet is debt. And I want you to really take some time to understand that. And if what I'm saying right now makes absolutely no sense or there's really no deeper level of understanding, go read up on some of this stuff because I am not an expert in any of this. I'm not your tax accountant. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm definitely not an economist. I'm just a normal guy who likes to understand this stuff that I think has helped me improve my financial situation. So understand what money is the first step. Step 2 is fix your money story. Fix your money story. So if you understand the money story, then you got to fix your money story. So I started this call by saying, what does money mean to me? It means freedom of choice. It means ability to choose. What does money mean to you? You guys know the Jim Rohn things, right? Zig Ziglar says money's not the most important thing, but it's right up there with oxygen. But what does that mean to you? Is money like just a means to get by? Is money something that can bring you freedom? Is money a means to make a difference, to get back? We all have a different money story, but it's important to be aware of it. And like Zoe alluded to, so many of us get that story from our parents, because where else would we get it from? And if we go back to the story of money, that's where we started. We understand what money is. It's fake. It's nothing but a piece of paper that we've all agreed to believe in. So if we've all agreed to believe in it, what does that mean? It means money is just a story. It's a story that we've told ourselves for generation after generation after generation that, hey, this is what money is. It's a story. It's a belief. It's not a real thing. It's not like a tree out there that you can go touch or feel or has value. It's not a tool. It's not an animal. It's a made up thing that we've all agreed on this story. So it's nothing more than a story, which means these stories have been passed down. And how do they get passed down? Through families. And many families have many different stories on money. So think back to your childhood and what was it like in your family growing up around money? What was the conversation like when money came up? Maybe you weren't even allowed to talk about money at the dinner table. I know there's many, many good things that came from my childhood about money. The way my dad viewed it, the way he invested it, the way he kept his expenditures low, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But one other, very interesting thing, not just my immediate family, but my extended family, who comes from a long line of very, very, low level income dairy farmers in rural Ohio, is, when someone has money, you kind of like, well, why did they get lucky? Or look at them flaunting their wealth. They're a little bit, that was something that I'm still personally working through. Is I go down the street and I see somebody driving a Porsche down here in Tampa, or someone has a really nice house and that's how they like to enjoy their money. I start immediately telling myself a story about how, look at this spoiled kid who probably grew up with wealthy parents in South Tampa, or look at this, or look at that. And if I'm talking about other people that have financial success like that, how can I ever expect to attract that into my own life? And go back to Zach Slobin's post. I talked about it last week. Go look at his post about this. It's so good. But he talks about how we're all working so hard for money. Every single person on this call, whether you're doing it at your job or you're doing Isagenix or both, you're spending hours and hours, probably more than 50% of your waking hours working for money. And yet we're spitting on people subconsciously that we see that have actually won the game of money, that have succeeded, that have brought in wealth. So understanding our story of money is so important. If you catch yourself thinking these things around people that have financial success, that's what you think of yourself aiming for financial success. If you see someone else and you think lesser of them, you also think the same thing of your future self, the person you're aiming for. Therefore, you're never going to follow through on the things you said you were going to do, because you think once you get there, you're going to be a terrible person, just like that guy that you're making up a story about driving his car down the street. So hopefully this is making sense to you guys. But number one is understand the story of money. Number two is fixing your money story. Number three, control thy expenditures. That one's straight from Richest Man in Babylon. Control thy expenditures. Sounds really easy, doesn't it? How many of us have spent money we didn't have before? How many of us have put something on cars even though we knew we weren't going to be able to pay it off, right? Been there for sure, right? Been there. This is one of the worst things we can do, because what is money? What is money? It's debt. The last thing we want to do is owe everyone a lot of stuff. The last thing we want to do is spend money we don't have. And the fastest way to put yourself in a place of stress, and talk about financial wellness, I'm telling you, your physical wellness is affected, is it not? Your physical wellness is affected when you are spending more than you're earning, when you're spending more than you have. You can't sleep. You're anxious all the time. Your stomach is grumbling. I know what I've been there, man. I know what it was like first coming out of college, when I first started making a lot of money doing engineering and stuff, and I have no idea how to manage any of it. It can be crippling. We're talking on Wellness Wednesday right now. This will really affect your physical wellness. It's simple. Step 3 is control your expenditures. Don't spend what you don't have. Spend less than you earn. Just discipline yourself. It's just a discipline. It's something we're all capable of doing. And there is someone in this country who's earning less than you, who's getting by okay. So I know it's easy to say, well, you don't understand, Tyler. Like, I have no way to make ends meet. I do, because what I want you to do is get to a place where you have freedom to not have this issue. But first, you got to discipline yourself. Just like anything else we talk about on these team calls, you got to discipline yourself. You want to be healthy, you got to be disciplined with your nutrition and exercise. You want to earn income in this, you got to be disciplined with your DMO. You want to get ahead financially, you have to discipline your spending. If you don't, you will be just like the people I'm talking about who continue to make more income and continue to stay on that hamster wheel, because as the income increases, so does your expenditures. Do you know that banks, all the big banks, have a special department just for lottery winners? Do you guys know why that is? Because they know the habits of lottery winners are so poor, they have to have a whole other department to manage it. Because the majority of lottery winners have this huge windfall of $1 million of cash, and then within a few years, it's gone again. How many of us, we sit there and we think, okay, if I could just get to this level of income, then I could have the life that I want. Then I'll change, then things will change, right? Once I have this level of money, then my life will be the way I want it to be. You must first be that person, and then the money can be an impactful tool for you. But lottery winners who have never changed their money blueprint, they've never learned how to discipline themselves with their expenditures. They've never learned these stories. They've never lived with money, so they don't know how to handle it. It comes in, goes right out, and they're right back to being broke again, just like they started. And banks have an entire department just to manage this. Insane. So we're going to get to more income at the end. And that's why a lot of you guys are doing this business, is for more income. But I really, really want you guys to think about this, controlling your expenditures, because if you don't, no amount of income is going to solve the problem. Don't buy things you don't have. And I would encourage everyone today, if you want to give yourself a little to-do list, take 10, 15 minutes. Go. It might be scary. It might not feel good, but I really encourage you to do this, okay? Really, really do. Even if it doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good to you, if it scares you when this comes out of my mouth in a second, it means you really should do it. Go open up your web browser, pull up your bank statements and credit card statements, and go through there and look where your money's going. Look where it's going. Print it out if you want, and highlight the things that are not necessities, because very few of the places your money is going is a necessity. Very few. You know, this country is not the cheapest to live on in the world, but it's actually a lot less than most people make it out to be. A lot of things we convince ourselves are necessities, they're not. But I want you guys to go through there and look at all the places your money's going. You might catch a few things that you've been on subscription for 2 years that you forgot. And you got $20 a month going out to something that you're not even using. You might clearly see when you pull this up that, wow, half of my monthly income is going to eating out and takeout food. I could save myself $500 a month if I just discipline myself to cook at home a little bit more. Trust me, that's a tough one. I have someone in Zoe that cooks a lot for me, and still I like to eat out a lot. It's something I enjoy doing, and it's something I allow myself to do a lot more now. But when I first got out of college, I had to say no to that stuff because I didn't have the money to do it. And so many people go into debt for vices like that, whether it's eating out or going to the bar or buying that new pair of shoes or buying that new piece of tech or buying that car that we can't afford yet. Go look at where your money's going. I think you'll be amazed. And then when you look at it, make some changes, because less is always more, and elimination is the first step of this thing. So go look at the statements today. Go see where the money's going and what can you eliminate? What can you say no to this month? What can you take off the subscription? You know, what could you do to change? So instead of paying $500 a month for your car payment, what could you downgrade your car that's still going to get you from point A to point B and buy it cash, or get a car payment that's only $200 a month instead of $500? Go look at some of these things and see. And if you want to be really honest, let me know in the chat what some of these things are that you know you need to get rid of. Taylor just called the food last night Japanese. Chinese, bro. Come on. All right, we're keeping moving. Understand money, fix your money story, control your expenditures. Number 4, I'm not going to go into this because, again, I'm not your financial advisor or investment guru. Number 4 is multiply your money through investment. The way I view investment is invest in things that pay you dividend, that pay you cash flow. Don't just gamble on things that you hope are going to be worth something in the future. That's my take on it. And there's a whole chapter in Richest Man in Babylon about this. He talks about if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If there's an investment that's too good to be true, it probably is. There's no secret to financial freedom. There really isn't. There's no secret to residual income. There's 2 ways to build residual income. The first way is doing something like you guys are doing right now, spending time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears to build an asset for yourself that pays you residually. The second way is to use a lot of money to buy assets that pay you residually. There's no other way. There's no cheap way where you can, like, I'm going to get lucky. I'm going to pick the winner early. I'm going to bet on this, and it's going to be worth so much. You know, the people that tell the story about If you would have invested in Apple in 1976, you could be worth, if you would have just put $100 in, you'd be worth $4 billion today. You know where Apple was in 1976? They were using pliers and tweezers in Steve Jobs' parents' garage. You'd have been insane to invest $100 in Apple back then. But people are always telling me stories about this, and it's the same mindset as the lottery winner, in my opinion. I really think it is. Betting on the lottery is not much different than saying, man, I'm going to put a little bit of money into this thing that could be huge someday and hope. The smartest investors in the world, Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, people like this, they only invest in things where they know their principal is protected. The principal is the money you invest. They only invest in things where they know their principal is protected, where at least they're not going to lose that. They might not hit a home run, but they're not going to lose the hard-earned money they work for. You guys work hard for your money in your jobs. You work hard in this business for it. Don't throw it away gambling, hoping that something's going to come. So I'm not going to go into that anymore. There's many ways to invest your money, but I'm a big believer in that. Number 5 is avoid things that sound too good to be true. So I already hit that. So number 1 is understand money. Number 2 is fix your money story. Number 3, control your expenditures. 4, multiply through investment. 5, avoid things that sound too good to be true. And the last 2 are my favorite. I'd love to talk to you guys one-on-one if you need help with this. Number 6 is the best investment you can make is in yourself. Take a coin from your purse and invest it into your mind, and your mind will overflow coins back into your purse. By our founder, our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, the founder of Junto. Take a coin from your purse, invest in your mind, it'll overflow coins back into your purse. It's the best investment you can make. People asked Warren Buffett one time, he was on a panel on stage, and they said, Warren, you've made so many investments, some have been home runs, some have been duds, but what's the best investment you ever made? He said, the best investment I ever made was in 1954. I walked into this school building and I put $500 into a Dale Carnegie public speaking and communication course. And that one course changed my life forever and has earned me hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what he said. And I believe it. And I think if you ask any people that you admire their financial success in life, they'll tell you that the best investments they ever made were in their own skill sets and their own mindset, because that is what allows them to create the wealth they've created. Because the last one here, number 7, I'm sorry, not yet. Let me not go there yet. Number 6, invest in yourself to create more income. To create more income, if we go back to the story of money, where we began, what money is. Money is trading value, right? The shoemaker had valuable shoes, but the bread maker didn't want it yet. So he gave him a note and he said, come get this value later. It's a store for value. You give value, you store it as money. I talk about this at Tampa. You have a young athlete who's young and athletic, great body, great physique, can do great things. People will pay a lot of money to watch that because it's valuable. It's rare. It's valuable to watch this athlete perform. But 50 years from now, this athlete's going to have no athleticism left. Their body's going to be failing them. But when they were young, they traded that value for money. They stored their value as an athlete in the form of money. And if they're smart with that money, they can be good later on in life. That's all it is, the store of value. You got something that people want to watch, people want to buy, people want to listen to. You store it as value. That's all money is, a store for value. It's debt, store for value. So if we want to increase our income, we have to increase our value. We got to increase the value we provide to the world. Whether that's in Isagenix, whether that's in your career, whether that's as a business person, as an investor. If we want to increase our income, we must increase the value we provide to the marketplace, the value we provide to the world. The only way to do that, again, there's no cheat here. The only way to do that is to grow and get better and improve your skills and improve your mindset. So the best investment you can make is yourself. If you got a little spare cash sitting around, you've been thinking about throwing into Bitcoin, I'd put it into yourself. You got a nest egg you're saving up because you want to buy something that could be worth something someday. If you're not investing in yourself, I'd start there. And especially in the network marketing industry, you ask the top leaders, they've invested thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into themselves. And the great thing is most of this stuff does not cost much money. Richest Man in Babylon, the book I'm talking about this morning, probably cost $5, and it costs some time. And it'd be a great investment of you to read it. So the 6th one is invest in yourself so that you can increase your income. Because as your income goes up, all these other problems start to fall by the wayside. If you're disciplined and your income starts to go up, it's not as hard to make ends meet every month. It's not as hard to be disciplined because you can enjoy the things you want to enjoy and not have to worry about where the money's coming from. So increasing your income is so freeing. And that's why all of you guys are here, I think, is because you want to increase your income. And I want to help you do it because I don't want you waking up in the morning not knowing where finances are coming from if you're struggling with that right now. And this vehicle can absolutely help you do it. But network marketing, more than anything, you're the only asset in your network marketing business. You are the asset. And if you're not growing yourself, the income's not going to grow. So I want you guys to improve your income, but I really want you to improve yourself. Okay. So 6 is invest in yourself to increase income. And 7, and lastly, is automate this stuff. I don't know about you, but I don't have the willpower to manage this stuff. I don't have the willpower to set money aside. So what I do every month, and I would really recommend you guys do this. I used to do it with my W-2 salary from engineering, and I do it with Isagenix still to this day, is I automate where it comes. You know, Isagenix comes in every Monday, and I have 20% go to a tax account because, like Zoe alluded to, if you're making more than $5,000 a year with Isagenix, you need to report that money to the income. We can do a whole other call about that someday, but you need to report that income to the government. And I set aside, I think it's 18% to be exact, for the government. And then I set 20% aside for myself. It used to be 10% when I wasn't barely making enough to pay the bills. It used to be 10%, but now I set 20% aside for myself. And then I split the other half up to my business account and my personal checking account. So I have a tax account, a savings account, and 2 checking accounts. And it's all automated because I don't have the willpower to manage it. And I don't think any of us do. If we have all of our money sitting in one place and we see it there, we're like, oh yeah, I could buy that new car. I could get that new thing. I could take that trip. I could do this because you see all the money sitting there. But if you automate it, you can really start to help yourself with this discipline part, which is hard. But if you automate it, you don't even really need to discipline yourself. It's all taken care of for you. And this is what Zoe was talking about earlier. Like when I first started helping her with this, she had all sitting in one place and she was so overwhelmed by it. Like, just automate this. And you have to pay yourself first, because if you're on a paycheck to paycheck hamster wheel and all your money just coming in is going right back out to pay off the debts and pay off your living expenses, you're never getting ahead. You're just hoping that someday your living expenses go down a little bit or your income goes up, but you're not getting ahead. If all your money's coming in and going towards rent, going towards car payment, going towards bills, going towards paying off credit card debt, paying off student loan debt, you're actually not getting ahead. And all the greatest advisors in the world will tell you, pay yourself first. Even if it's really hard and you're not sure how you're going to pay the bills, take 10% of every income that comes in, at a minimum 10%, and put it somewhere where you're not going to touch it. Start to get ahead, start to grow, because as that cushion grows, you will feel at more peace. As you feel more at peace, you will be better able to grow your income, especially in this business. As you feel more at peace, as you grow that nest egg, you'll have a little bit more money to invest in yourself and help yourself grow your income. You have to get ahead, and you only can do this by having the discipline of putting a minimum of 10% away, no matter how hard it is to get by. The bill collectors will wait. The IRS will wait. You're better available to them alive and not in prison than you are a debtor in prison, because you can't pay off their debts. They're not going to come knocking on your door, as scary as it can be. They're not. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Get ahead first.
Guys, and I will say too, like, there were times like in the beginning of this journey where like I didn't have enough money to pay off credit card bills, or I didn't have enough to pay off rent. And I would go, because I like truly, like, Tyler is just, he's really helping with my finances. And I go to Tyler, I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, you got to find money somewhere else. I'm like, well, I have this money in my savings. He's like, you don't touch that. That's literally for you. And I've never learned that. And like to this day, like I would literally have no savings account. I would have no money to my name if I didn't learn these principles. And so it really is super important. And really, like, one thing that just stuck with me is like Tyler just told me, like, this 10% that you're putting away with everything that comes in, like, that's your future. And you don't touch that. You don't give it to the government. You don't give it to the landlord. You don't give it to the credit card people. This is for you, and you don't touch it no matter how bad your circumstances are. This is like for you to invest later. So that was like a really important thing for me to learn, because I would have no money. Like Tyler said, I don't have the willpower to hang on to those things.
And think about the fact that you spend 8 to 16 hours a day probably working for money. And if you don't do this simple step, you're working for everybody else. You're working for the government. You're working for your landlord. You're working for the local electric company. You're working for them because the money's coming in and it's going right out to them. Work for yourself by putting 10% away. So the 7th and final one is automate this. Start by you can do this today. You can log into your ISA wallet account and you can put 10% there. If you're doing Isagenix part-time and you have a full-time income, it should be way more than that. because you were able to live off that full-time income before. One of the great things Cody did that I watched Cody did in his first 6 months, he put 100% of his Isagenix income away. He was able to live off his salary before, he's still able to. So find out what that number is for you, but I would say minimum 10%. I really, really encourage you, don't just do it with your ISA wallet. Go talk to your HR department at your job and have them send 10% of your direct deposit to a savings account as well. And you might have to set up some new accounts, but what I do is I have a tax account, a savings account, a business checking, and a personal checking. You don't have to be that complex right away, but automate it. It'll make it so much easier. All right. So we're way over time, but I'm going to summarize here and we're going to wrap it up. So number one is understand the story of money. Read The Richest Man in Babylon if you want to do that. Number two is fix your money story. There's tons of great books on that. Tony Robbins has some great stuff on that. Secrets of a Millionaire Mind is a great one. Highly recommend. Yeah. Number three is control your expenditures. Take some time today or this week, do a little budgeting, find out where your money's going and find out where you can eliminate things, eliminate subscriptions, eliminate big expenses that you keep letting money flow to. Number four is multiply through investment. Number five is avoid things that sound too good to be true. Number six is invest in yourself to increase your income. And number seven is automate all of this so you don't have to have the discipline to do it. All right. Awesome, guys. I don't have any time for comments or questions. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you guys get going. If you want to talk about this more with me, I'm happy to help. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I just wanted to share with you some things that have helped me in my journey and hopefully could help you in yours.
Tyler, what'd you say for number 7?
Automate all of this. Automate 10%. If you need to automate taxes for Isagenix, automate that as well.
Okay.
And your ISA wallet can send money to 3 places. So that's where mine goes, checking, taxes, and 10% to savings.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, hope it was helpful today. Seeing awesome stuff this week from you guys on the Isagenix front. You guys are rocking. I'm seeing collagen people enrolling, nutrition. So keep up the great work. Let's have an awesome week, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right.
See ya.